All right. Hello. Welcome to episode 18. Um Today's rundown is going to be NASCAR, then NCAA basketball, the NFL, and then the NBA. I kind of want your help on the NFL one to get your reactions because more stuff has happened through trades and free agency. But starting off in NASCAR, um your winner was Joe Gibbs Racing was Denny Hamlin. I think he said after the race, like this one was for dad or whatever. Um, so what do you think on Denny Hamlin
Yeah,
winning?
I think Denny's last win also came at Vegas last year in the playoffs. Of course, that was before he lost his dad. His dad was having his own health issues at the time. That was certainly before the terrible house fire that they had in the off season, where Denny ultimately would lose his dad. And they said something on the broadcast that I think is really true. That when Denny got out of that car in the fall race at Vegas, having won his 60th race, which tied him with Kevin Harvick for 10th all time. There was just a different Denny Hamlin. And while we hate, Jeremiah, that bad things happen, loss and different things, oftentimes those difficult circumstances give us a fresh look on life and they give us a fresh look on what's important and they kind of focus us. And I think that's what you're seeing with Denny right now. I think maybe we both watched, what a devastating loss the championship race was for him. He had the best car, should have won the championship. William Byron brings out the late caution, and the rest is history. Kyle Larson's your champion last year. Um, so I'm excited for Denny. I think the fans have kind of turned in a positive way on Denny. I have at least. It's his 61st win now, which puts him into sole possession of 10th all time as far as all time wins. And Denny Hamlin is a first ballot Hall of Famer. And I just think if I'm him, tell me what you think about this. If I'm him, whenever I win the championship, whether it's this year or the next couple of years, I'm retiring right then and right there.
Yeah, just that Monday, I'm out. It's good for him. And then another like note I have on here necessarily is
Yeah,
that Toyota has won the first four of the first five races of the season, three of which coming from um Tyler Reddick, and then the other one coming from Denny Hamlin.
yeah.
So,
Those stats are what they are, but they're a little skewed. You got one driver that won the first three races, but that's at the same time that's not easy. As you know,
hmm
that's the first time in the history of NASCAR
in the
that has
78 years.
ever happened. Yeah, Toyota's off to a fantastic start.
hmm
They've almost swept, with the exception of Blaney at Phoenix. They have they've swept the year. What's crazy is here we are going into the fifth race of the year, and Chevrolet, does not have a win yet. Let me ask you this question. It's not even on the notes. What is your feeling about Chevy? Because outside of Hendrick, um, what is your feeling about Chevy? RCR not running great. Spire not running well.
hmm
Um, Trackhouse not running, very
And
well.
now
Colleague,
there's right now a rivalry sort of brewing between Trackhouse and Spire, between Suarez and
mm,
Chastain, after what happened at the end of the Vegas race. So that the lower Chevys are starting to have a rough time at it, and it doesn't help that Hendrick is off to a insanely slow start,
yeah,
with Bowman being in three out of the five races, Byron disappearing off the face of the earth, Chase Elliott kind of being there, and then Larson as well, just kind of being there because it's Larson at the end of the day.
yeah. And I know we can't, but if you take out Hendrick, I know we can't. But Hendrick is almost like the ringer. You've got Chase Elliott dropping one spot to fifth in the points now. You've got Byron up to eighth. You've got Larson up to seventh. Um, Jerry, I'm looking for the next Chevy. The next Chevy is 14th.
Yeah, so if you take away Hendrick, it's the first Chevy's Michael McDowell at 14th.
Yeah, they actually hold 14 through 18. I guess Michael McDowell's. Does that still front row? Because I know they swapped to Spire. Excuse me, Spire. So yeah, you have Spire. Literally, you know, back to back to back to back there. You've got McDowell, Hocevar, you've got Trackhouse and Shane, Spire, Suarez, Colleague, Allmendinger, and then all the way back in 20, Ross Chastain for Trackhouse, 22, Bush, RCR, 24th, Dillon, RCR.
And then 33 through 36 of full-time runners. The
Yep.
last four in full-time runners are all Chevy
Mhm.
of Cody Ware, Cole Custer, Connor Zilich, and Alex Bowman.
Yeah. And Bowman dealing with his vertigo and health issues. Well, I don't know if he can make the playoffs this year because I'm not sure how the exemption works. It's not winning in anymore. And Bowman's already 232 points out of behind the leader, that is. So I hate that for him. But yeah, Jared. Toyota, like you said, off to a great start.
Yeah, and 2311 are back as 1 and 2 right now.
Yeah.
With how Bubba Wallace has been driving. But this week might be a week for Chevy because Darlington's up next. I know Larson normally runs well there. Byron runs well there. But Toyota's also run well there too. So
Denny is fantastic at that racetrack.
Briscoe's won the last two there.
Yeah, Briscoe's won there a couple times. Yeah, Denny's the all-time winningest race car driver at Darlington with 5. The next closest is Jimmy Johnson, 3, Chase 2, Eric Jones 2, Keselowski 2, and then lots of guys with 1. And as you said, Jeremiah, Toyota has won the last 2 there.
Yeah, last 2.
Denny Hamlin won in the spring last year, and then Briscoe won the August race, both for Joe Gibbs Racing.
So when was the last time a Chevy has won there?
Keep talking about something else.
Okay. After Darlington, they go to Martinsville for that one, so it's another.
That should be a Hendrick track. They own that. They own that. All right, pulled this back up. That's what I get for closing it. The last time a Chevy won at Darlington was September of 2023, the Southern 500, Kyle Larson. So Chevy won 3 in a row with Larson, Byron, and Jones. And from there on, it's kind of been back and forth. Chevy not run very well there. Their previous win, 22, and they've not won anything since 14. So 14, 22, 23, and that's it. Chevy not very good. The Lady in Black.
Do you think some of that is like the change that they did? Because I know they did like some change to their cars over the off season. Chevy did. Could that be a bit of a role with this new car that they kind of have?
It could. It definitely could. But I just think some tracks, certain drivers have their arms around it, and certain manufacturers have their arms around it. Certain teams have their arms around it. I do think, maybe since like the new car, what is this one called, the Gen 7 or whatever it is?
Yeah.
That could have something to do with it because, Larson's the one that's won in this car there, and then you got some Chevys. So it could be, but I think, I don't know how well, like aero-wise, that track is, an aero track. I don't think it's more of a tire track because that surface is so gritty due to the sand there because you're in South Carolina and, where you have to run so close to the wall. To me, that's a driver's track. So I think that's why you see some of the guys who have won there, they are the best of the best. It's a hard place to win.
Mm-hmm. And then next thing I have on here is Daniel Dye's suspension. Now, you know more about that than I do. All I know is that he said something about a IndyCar driver. So.
Yeah. Look, because this is obviously really sensitive, I know apparently he was with some friends and maybe kind of like similar to what Kyle Larson did. So let's see if we can find a story. Here it is. The video. Let's just read it, Jer. Daniel Dye. This is NASCAR.com. Daniel Dye has been indefinitely suspended from NASCAR after insensitive comments made during a recent live stream, officials announced Tuesday evening. Dye, who's the driver of the number 10 Collie Racing Ram in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, was penalized under Section 4.3 C of the NASCAR rulebook, which states, in part, NASCAR members shall not make a public statement or communication that criticizes, ridicules, or otherwise disparages another person based upon that person's race, color, creed, national origin, gender, sexual orientation, marital status, religion, age, or other handicapping condition. It continues. Dye was discussing his experience around NTT IndyCar Series drivers David Malukas, Malukas, while opening trading cards on a recent live stream, during which the 22-year-old Dye used language that officials deemed unacceptable, resulting in Tuesday's suspension. Dye must complete sensitivity training before he may return to competition. Colleague also announced in a statement the team has suspended Dye immediately after becoming aware Tuesday of comments he made on social media. So, Day has apologized. He posted that to his social media, adding, in part, I didn't think enough before I spoke. I in no way meant any harm. I know that intention does not risk impact, and I need to do better. So that's what's going on. I do think part of it is we live in a day and age with cancel culture, and there is like a heightened sensitivity. But I do think all of us need to be careful with what we say. I know we have freedom of speech in America. I didn't hear exactly what he said, so I'm kind of nervous to even speak on it. But apparently, whatever he said, don't have the quote, don't have the video, was egregious enough where somehow NASCAR got a hold of it, Collie got a hold of it, and mandated a suspension immediately. I think he has to do some sensitivity training, but just in the day and age and the life that he finds himself in, we just all need to be really careful with what we say. Jerry, what's your thought on it?
I didn't know he was 22, first of all.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's the way we live in nowadays, I'm sure he's just goofing off. It's just a 22-year-old opening cards, so he's probably just having fun. But of course, when you're tied to something like NASCAR and you were in the Xfinity Series last year, and now you're in the trucks and your colleague racing for Rams, so there's already a lot of eyes on you. There might just be a little bit extra strict on you, maybe. But yeah, I don't know the full details like you do, but yeah.
Yeah, and, you and I, as believers in Christ, we stand on what the Word of God says, and we try to operate in ways that we'll tell the truth, about how we feel about things and what the Word of God says about things, but we also want to operate in a way that Jesus operates in. Jesus never hid the truth from anybody. I'm not trying to preach here, Jer, on our podcast, but we're not going to shy away from who we are. But Jesus also operates in in love and in grace. So, but I think back to your point, if you got sponsors to think about and Ram to think about, and you just have to carry yourself in a way, and you have to be careful. Another thing, Jared, what do you think? It's a day and age where cameras are always on, always, especially if you flip the camera on. Just need to make sure that we're saying things that are kind and uplifting and true, and aren't gonna cause any ramifications, particularly in this climate that we live in today, which can be sensitive, which can be hot takes, hot topics, all those things. Everybody's got a mic, everybody's got a podcast. So just keep it positive. Just keep it. Remember, you always represent yourself, no matter what you do, no matter what you say. So in our case, we represent our Lord. Just always represent your Lord, yourself, and your name. Always try to represent yourself in the best way possible in everything you say and do. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you.
So yeah, it's touchy. I'm not trying to dance around it. Not trying to, but I don't know exactly what he said. But apparently was, and Kyle Larson was here, a couple years ago, lost his ride.
Mhm.
He dropped a racial slur. There's no place for any of that, being condescending or negative or whatever.
And at that
Um,
time, that was probably the worst time to say a racial slur in
yeah,
NASCAR with the whole Bubba
Mhm.
Wallace deal that was going
Yeah,
on.
they had the noose thing going on, or alleged noose at Vega, and he paid the price. But the good news is, Larson was able to find a way back,
Mhm.
with the sport, with the sponsors, with the fans, and hopefully, whatever happened, Day can do the same. Hopefully, there'll be the same opportunities
Yeah.
extended to Day that were extended to Larson.
Yeah, Larson just did what he did in the 42. Just be respectful and humble,
Mm-hmm.
Because I've liked Larson ever since he drove in the 42 car. And it just, whenever he came back after saying that, it was just like a different, it was just the same Kyle Larson. It felt like off the track. Of course, on the track, it was a whole lot more improved.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just felt like it was the same Kyle Larson off the track, still the lovable guy.
Yeah, there's never a reason to be mean. Does that make
Hmm.
sense? I don't know what he said. Everybody, each of us have our own personal convictions that we should live by. But there's never an excuse to be.
And up next on here, I got the NCAA tournament
Thank you for moving
with the
on.
brackets. Right now, Miami, Ohio is playing SMU in the first four. The winner of this game will go on to play Tennessee first round. Who do you have? Miami, Ohio, the undefeated MAC team, or SMU, the challenged?
This may be the hottest take ever. You and I talked about this earlier this afternoon slash evening. I think SMU rolls Miami, Ohio. I think they could win by 30. SMU, with all due respect to Miami, Ohio, to go that far into a season undefeated, only to lose in your conference tournament. I know what that feels like as a Kentucky fan in, was it 2015, where we rolled into the Final Four undefeated, only to lose to Wisconsin. So as a fan base, I know what that feels like. Um, but I just think when you look at SMU, who's in
The
the
ACC.
ACC, I think they've beaten Louisville. Having to had to play the likes of Duke, Louisville, Miami. That conference is it's not as strong as some others, but it's no slouch.
I
Just
think
they've not seen anything like SMU.
I think we talked about this earlier, and if they do beat SMU, it'll we'll say the same thing when they go on to face Tennessee. But I just think we talked about this when I think Uncle B was on. Miami, Ohio hasn't played a team like this. They haven't played a team like SMU. They haven't played a team like Tennessee. We looked over Miami, Ohio's schedule, and they're non-conference. ESPN didn't even have a photo of the team's logo that they were playing. I mean, it's impressive, but if like 15 and 16 UMass is putting up a fight with you, all respect to UMass, but a 15 and 16 MAC team is putting up a good fight against you, you're not going to last long in March, I think. Because if they do beat SMU, cool. Now you have to go play an SEC team. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, and in these early rounds, especially, you have these schools with no familiarity with each other, and a lot of times you do see upsets. Um, One guy can get hot from three. Unfortunately, again, as a Kentucky fan, I lived that when
Back to back
the
years.
Goki kid or whatever his name is, hit what seemed like 23s against us. And the year before, Saint was it
St. Peter's.
St. Peter's, the Peacocks. So you get these teams, there's not a lot of familiarity, and it's a one and done environment. But certainly on paper, and I think this will bear out right now, unless my computer's froze, with 9:19 in the first half, Miami, Ohio leads by 2, 15-13. But I just really look for SMU to stretch this out.
Mm-hmm.
Long answer to a really good question. I don't think this game is close.
Mm-hmm.
Well, again, and I should phrase it like you did. With all due respect to Miami of Ohio, what you did, one loss coming into March, the tournament is great. But you can't hide from the facts. Like they've just not been challenged this year. With all due respect to the MAC and Miami, Ohio.
Yeah, and like when they go on to play Tennessee, Tennessee is a big team. They have big forwards, big guards. They talked about this when they played Kentucky. I think it was Billis who said Tennessee's a big team.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then Nate Amend's a walking double double as a freshman. Jalipsy is a all around guard. So what are they going to do when they take on this big SEC team, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. You know, you got SMU, who's played Louisville a couple times, Miami, Virginia Tech, Duke, North Carolina.
Boopy Miller's having a rough game.
Played Vandy. So it's a tall task for them for sure. You know, finished kind of in the middle, bottom middle. Did SMU of the ACC.
Well, I'm right now checking out the box score. SMU isn't shooting well, but
Yep.
they're right there with them.
Mm-hmm.
Boopy Miller, their star guards, 0 for 5. Their Jaron Pierce Jr.'s 1 for 4. Jermaine O'Neal Jr.'s 0 for 3. But they're only down 2 right now.
And
so
it must be at the under 12 timeout because
Mhm.
the clock's not moved in a while.
Yeah, it's a timeout. So I
But-
think if SMU starts finding shots to hit, it might be over.
I would agree with that. Definitely would. Let me grab.
All right, we're gonna go over our brackets here. Where are we starting at? All the way at the beginning, or in the Sweet 16?
We can do wherever you want. Our show.
I might
Your
just
show.
name off my entire bracket, so
Okay.
might want to listen closely. But I'll try to go slow. So in the number starting in the round of 64 in the East, I have Duke over Siena, Ohio State over TCU, St. John's over Northern Ohio, Kansas over California Baptist, I guess. Louisville over South Florida. Even though Mikael Brown is out, I'm still going to take a gamble on the Cardinals. Michigan State over North Dakota State. UCF upsetting UCLA. UConn beating Furman. And going down to the South, I have Florida over Prairie View. Iowa over Clemson. Vanderbilt over McNeese. Nebraska over Troy. North Carolina over VCU. Illinois over Penn, Texas A&M over St. Mary's, Houston over Idaho. In the West, I have Arizona over Long Island, Villanova over Utah State, Wisconsin over High Point, Arkansas over Hawaii, BYU over Texas, Gonzaga over Kennesaw State, Missouri over Miami, Purdue over Queens. In the Midwest, I have Michigan over Howard, Georgia over St. Louis, Texas Tech over Akron, Alabama over Hofstra, Tennessee over Miami, Ohio, or SMU, Virginia over Wright State, Kentucky over Santa Clara, and Iowa State over Tennessee State.
What's crazy is the only difference you and I have is the UCLA game.
In the round of 32, I have Duke over Ohio State, St. John's over Kansas, Michigan State over Louisville, UConn over UCF. In the South, I have Florida over Iowa, Vanderbilt over Nebraska, Illinois over North Carolina, Houston over A&M. In the West,
Would you have Carolina going farther if what's his name?
If Caleb Wilson was
if he
there,
was healthy?
probably I would. I'd probably have them beating Illinois there.
I agree.
Over in the West, Arizona over Nova. I'm kind of gambling on a Calipari choke here, but Wisconsin over Arkansas. Gonzaga over BYU.
May not be a bad gamble coming from a former Calipari fan.
Purdue over Mizzou.
We have that one different though.
Michigan over Georgia. Alabama over Texas Tech. Tennessee over Virginia. And then Iowa State over Kentucky.
Those are the only two differences we have because I think your my Sweet 16 is the exact same.
I'm starting in the Sweet 16 for me. In the East, I have Duke over St. John's, UConn over Michigan State, Florida over Vanderbilt, Houston over Illinois, Arizona over Wisconsin, Purdue over Gonzaga, Michigan over Alabama, and then Iowa State over Tennessee. In my Elite Eight, I have Duke over UConn, Houston over Florida, Arizona over Purdue, then Michigan over Ohio State. In my final four, I have Duke over Houston, then Arizona over Michigan, and then to win it all, I have Duke beating Arizona.
Yeah, well, there's not a lot for us to debate. The only games we have differently are the UCLA game and
The UCLA USF in the first round.
yeah, that and the Arkansas game are the only two we have different.
Yeah,
So
me and Dad basically have the exact same
I
bracket,
think the
Sweet 16
And
forward.
what's crazy is we're in the same bracket pool. We're gonna know our winner by the second weekend for sure. Having been the first four, Howard wins. Congratulations, you get to play Michigan. Texas beats NC State on a last second shot where the assistant coach ran on the floor and probably should have got technical, but NC State calls a timeout. Prairie View gets their first NCAA tournament win tonight, beating Lehigh. So congratulations, you get to play Florida. And then Miami versus SMU right now are playing for the right to play against Tennessee.
Miami's right now spreading that one out.
They may prove us all wrong. But I mean, the facts are still there. They've not played anybody yet. But man, there's always that one team, right? That there's teams that come out of the first four and get in the Sweet 16. That's not uncommon. So, Jared, typically there is you talk about the dreaded 12-5. Are you familiar with that? There's always a 12-5 upset.
Yep, I am.
So, in the East,
big favorite I'm hearing for that one is McNeese over Vanderbilt.
Heard that one. So, in the East, for those that don't know, you've got Northern Iowa, the 12, over, and again, St. John. By the way, St. John's got hosed. Win your conference tournament, beat UConn, and they give you a 5 seed in the bracket of death. Okay? Literally, listen to this East bracket. Jeremiah mentioned earlier Duke Siena, Ohio State TCU, St. John's, Northern Iowa, Kansas, Cal Baptist, Louisville, South Florida, Michigan State, North Dakota State, UCLA, UCF, UConn, Furman. Let me read that again. Duke, St. John's.
That one's probably
Kansas,
the toughest out
Louisville,
of all of them.
Michigan State, UCLA, UConn. Those top 6 teams, 7 teams, up to 8 Ohio State. I mean, blue bloods, right? So it's that draw for anybody in the East. If you're Duke, you're the number 1 overall seed. You're like, what in the world, right? You got to play UConn or Michigan State in the Elite 8. You got to play Kansas perhaps in the Sweet 16 if they get that far, or St. John's. It's just
I don't have Kansas being St. John's.
Brutal. You'll have Duke in the Sweet 16 if they go if they can get that far, right? Yeah. So it's just crazy. But 12-5s, Northern Iowa, St. John, McNeese, Vandy. Akron, Texas Tech is one I'm reading a lot too, where a lot of folks who are way smarter than me are picking Akron over Texas Tech.
Tech has no Toppin.
With Toppin hurt, that there's a road for that to happen. I know nothing about Akron, but a 12 seed, and there typically is one, and then High Point, Wisconsin.
And it's probably the least likely.
Is the 12-5 in the West. So, Jared, what are your thoughts about the? I don't see St. John's having just come off a tournament win, beating UConn twice. I can see McNeese Vandy because Vandy's been up and down. They were down before the tournament and made a run, all the way to the championship game. Let's see here, Akron, Texas Tech. You can see a way for that one, can't you? With Toppin being hurt.
That's probably the most likely I can think of.
I would agree with that. High Point, Wisconsin, having beaten Michigan, coming out of the Big Ten.
Almost beating Michigan twice.
Could have beaten Michigan twice, yeah. So yeah, I'm with you. If I've got to hitch my horse to one,
probably Akron.
Probably Akron. over Texas Tech. Texas Tech, I think they're hurt. It's hard to say who the weakest of the five seeds are.
I think someone on Miami, Ohio heard us talking earlier.
Yeah, they're going to prove us wrong. Oh, well. But okay, Jer, with also like what, there's typically a double-digit seed. I just hit
One of Mom's office things.
decorative office things. I just destroyed my hand on it. You saw me jump. Do you see a double-digit seed, that could potentially make a run as you look at the bracket? Because usually there's one,
I just don't know with all the NIL that's going on.
Yeah.
You never know with all these double digits.
So in the East, while you're looking, just to fill some airtime, you have UCF 10, South Florida 11, Northern Iowa 12. Let's see here, 13 Cal Baptist, 14 North Dakota State, go Bison, 15 Furman, 16 Siena. I think in that bracket, you're just going to be really hard pressed to be a double-digit seed to move on. That bracket is just unbelievable. But I think if I have to say a double-digit seed, I'm going to say South Florida. Be going again. They win Louisville. Congratulations, you get probably Michigan State, right?
With no Mikael Brown.
Yeah, UCF. If you beat UCLA, congratulations, you probably get UConn. So I think that bracket's pretty safe. What do you think?
Yeah, that bracket, I think the strongest double digit out there is probably UCF.
I would agree with that.
Because I have them beating UCLA, but I don't know if that's crazy or not. But I just every now and then, whenever I make a bracket, I try to go with at least one double digit upset, and that one just felt right to choose UCF over UCLA.
It seems like too, Jared. Like it seems like always one side of the bracket is more upset heavy. It's not always day one or day two, and the other side, kind of goes a little more chalk. But if you're a double digit in that bracket and you win a game, like kudos to you, because that might be the toughest region ever. Okay, in the South, double digits, we'll start at 10. A&M, 10, 11 VCU, 12 McNeese, 13 Troy, 14 Penn, you're 15 Idaho, and then 16 Prairie View, A&M.
I could say the only double digit that I could see doing good out there is probably A&M. Just going with SDC.
I would agree. For sure.
Yeah. Just A&M. I don't see any of those other ones beating who they got. Penn has Illinois. Ian Wagler basically on that team, first team. He made first team all American freshman. Troy I think Nebraska has too much offensive power for Troy. And Prairie View's taking on the defending champs.
I'll play devil's advocate. I agree with you, but Nebraska coming in as a 4 seed, kind of uncharted territory for them, ranked near the top 10 all year, 6 losses. If they come in tight, these mid-majors come in feeling like they have nothing to lose, right? So Nebraska needs to, if you come in tight,
I think that's why we see a lot of those Cinderella stories. Those schools are just going out there with a nothing to lose mentality.
Well, and like we said, a lot of these games, with all due respect to some of these mid-majors and smaller schools, where do you find tape on these guys? They're not playing on ESPN every night or ABC or the big Saturday game. I mean, you can find tape on Nebraska everywhere.
Yeah, because Big Ten
I know they'll find it, in this day and age, but especially now with, everything being able to be
the Big Ten and the SEC both have their own broadcast systems on ESPN. You got the Big Ten network and the SEC network.
I still have a grudge against St. Mary's. They're the number 7 in the South because of what they did to Kentucky a few years ago. So I hope A&M wins by 100. But I think A&M, and again, there are some guys like Billis and some guys on ESPN who know way more about than me. They're telling Vanderbilt, be careful. And there's always that 12-5. It's always. In the West, let's see. Man, I'm getting old, Jared.
I don't
Gotta
see the
zoom
only
this in.
double digit I see is Mizzou over Miami.
And I've got
Um,
that game. Yeah.
yeah,
hmm
Queens plays Purdue, Kennesaw State plays Gonzaga, Texas. Another one I could possibly see is Texas BYU,
Yeah.
but I think with the Bansta that ain't gonna happen. Um,
Hawaii getting SEC
Hawaii
champ
plays
Arkansas.
Arkansas,
Ooh.
High Point plays Wisconsin, um,
Long Island
gets Arizona.
gets Arizona, who I have going very, very far.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I would agree. Missouri's a dangerous 10 seed. They got the better of Kentucky once. Kentucky got their revenge in the SEC tournament, which is probably the reason they're a 7 and not an 8 or 9. You don't want to be an 8 or 9 because that gives you a second round matchup with a 1. But yeah, I don't know much about High Point, but I know a few things about Wisconsin. Arkansas is brutal. Arkansas can make a run unless Calipari messes it up, which is possible. Um, Texas, I would go with Texas as that double seed there, double digit seed.
Yeah.
Um, Texas and or Missouri, but again, two SEC schools, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, we'll close here in the Midwest. You've got Tennessee State, Santa Clara getting a lot of noise to beat Kentucky. A lot of folks picking Santa Clara over Kentucky. You've got Wright State. You've got either Miami of Ohio or SMU. Hofstra, Akron, and unless I miss anybody, Howard. So, Jared, what do you see there? You okay with your headphone there? We got new headphones, by the way, and they're a little hard to put in though at first.
Trying to get it wrapped around the ear because that's the only way they stay is if you have it wrapped around your ear. Down in the Midwest, I mean Howard. Uh, the only one I really see is Akron Tech.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Hofstra, don't know much about him, but Alabama's down a star. So with the arrest,
Good point.
um, Santa Clara over Kentucky, that one I know a lot of people are having that one. I saw where that one's one of the more might want to plug your ears or take your headphones out, but that one's one of the more most picked upsets in everyone's bracket,
Yeah, a lot of folks are picking Santa Clara.
and a lot of people are being careful with Tennessee State and Iowa State.
Yep.
So, don't know much about Tennessee State, but
I can't remember the guy's name, but the coach is a former Duke player. And you get those 15 and you're loose. Nobody expecting anything, got nothing to lose. It can happen. I mean, we live in a day and age now where number 1 seeds have been knocked up by 16s and 2s by 15s and everywhere in between. So it happens. A few years ago, Virginia got beat by a 16 seed by 20. We just don't know. That's why I think March Madness is my favorite sporting event of the year.
just never know.
You don't.
You
know.
throw 64 teams into a
Yeah.
bracket and tell them to whip each other till one's left standing.
And all you got to do is get hot at the right time. Somebody's going to win 6 games in a row. Somebody's going to do it, and they'll be your champion. Somebody has to do it, obviously. But yeah, hopefully you guys got your brackets filled out. Hopefully you're in a pool somewhere, and
don't forget your bias picks.
Having some fun. Yeah, you got to do 2 brackets, right? You got to do one with your head, and one with your heart.
Mm-hmm. Tennessee, North Dakota State, here we come. Right, Dad?
Crazier things have happened.
All right. SMU is closing the gap, though, coming down into halftime, 30-34, Miami, Ohio leading right now.
Yeah. Wow.
So
they may make me look like a fool.
All right. And then off to the NFL. Some big moves. Here's some of the bigger stuff I have for the NFL is Jalen Waddle today got traded from Miami to Denver. So now Bo Nix has probably one of the fastest guys in the league at wideout now. What do you think on that? On Jalen Waddle, probably one of the faster, probably top 5 fastest wideouts in the league going to Denver.
And it's not like Denver was very far off last year, right? I mean, they played that snow game which basically, if I remember correctly, help me if I'm wrong, just turned into a field goal kicking game because those conditions were so terrible. Now, granted, both teams had to play in the same conditions, so it's not like one team had a leg up, but they're already close. And you have, Bo Nix, as you mentioned, and I can see his. What's the head coach of Denver? I can see his face. He was with Drew Brees for all those years.
Sean Payton.
You have Sean Payton, who is a genius, mastermind, and a guy like Bo with the speed of Waddle, just throw it out there and let him go get it. But what I would say there in one sentence is Denver was already not that far off. So an improvement in any area, in a division where the Raiders are not going to be great, the Chiefs are falling, the Chargers, they're probably going to be 500 or 10 wins, but really in a division that is poised for Denver to take over for a very long time and have control of that division if they really want it.
Because Kansas City, they have Fields for the first half of the season. The only really scary move that Kansas City did was sign Kenneth Walker. But when Patrick Mahomes comes back, KC will still be a very good team again.
I mean, I don't know the matter, but you've already let Pachenko go. You've already let the player go to the Rams.
Trent McDuffie.
And just they're getting older, and Father Time's undefeated, especially in the NFL. With the exception of a few dynasties, most notably New England. Teams just don't stay on top for that long anymore. So, Jared, this says top players, ESPN.com, such as Tyler Linderbaum, Trey Hendrickson, Jalen Phillips, Malik Willis, to name a few, flew off the market and are expected to make immediate impacts. Also saw some drama with the Raiders taking back Max Crosby after a failed trade. Apparently something was up with the physical. Geno Smith returning to New York, and then Kyler Murray will create QB competition with J.J. McCarthy in Minnesota. So those are some of the big names.
That's one of my more favorite moves of this offseason was Kyler Murray to the Vikings.
Yeah, I think you lit a fire to that dude.
Yeah, so well, look at what the Vikings have done recently with quarterback. They revived careers at that position, like what they did with Sam Darnold, who's now a champion.
Yeah.
They had Kirk Cousins, and then Kyler Murray. Could you imagine like a Kyler Murray, like how people were talking about him when he first got drafted? He will be one of the freakiest athletes in human history. I think he's like the only human in history to be drafted top 10 in the MLB and the NFL draft. So one of the freakiest athletes in human history has a chance to be what we thought he would be when he first got drafted.
Well, I'll play devil's advocate. I'm a J.J. McCarthy fan because of where he played, but we have yet to see him injury-free. He led a stacked Michigan team, granted, but we have yet to see what he can actually do healthy. So that competition could be really, really good for him. But, yeah, so the Bills adding DJ Moore, Bradley Chubb, and having lost
That's
David
really
Edwards.
good for them getting DJ Moore and Bradley Chubb.
Lost Edwards, Reggie Gilliam, and Cam Lewis. Jerry, I'll just read through these because you're the expert. Miami Dolphins have added Malik Willis.
That's good for them.
This is all ESPN.com. Don't want to be plagiarism. Josh Uche and Jalen Tolbert having lost Tua, the aforementioned Waddle, and Bradley Chubb.
Yeah, the only one that really hurts them probably is Chubb and Waddle. We all saw how that worked out. And then New England now.
Adding Kevin Bard, Romeo Dubs, and Draymond Jones.
The Kevin Byard one's good for them because Kevin Byard led the league in picks last year. Former Titan, yeah. And now they got Romeo Dobbs to fill in at that number 1 spot for the wideout after Stephon Diggs' whole drama yet again.
Who knows what's going to happen there? I guess that'll be played out in court, right? Do we really want to talk about the Jets? Added Geno, Minkah Fitzpatrick, and Demario Davis.
Just age.
Lost Jermaine Johnson, Asia Vera Tucker, and Quincy Williams.
That the Vera Tucker hurts. That's one of the better left guards in the league.
Geno's probably really happy to be going, back to New York. Bless their heart. That's all we're going to say.
It must be so hard being a Jets fan, bro. Have you seen that meme of that one kid? It was after
Oh,
a Jets game, and he's like, "I hate this
I
team. I
hate
was
this.
born into
I hate.
this."
I hate that I love this team. The Baltimore Ravens had Crosby, and then didn't.
Mm.
I
Saw a
didn't.
thing where Max Crosby talked about that. Sorry to interrupt. Saw a thing today where Max Crosby talked about that. He said when he got back to Las Vegas, he said he got right to work. He said his knee was fine, and I think that's what I think they used his knee as a cover up. I think the Ravens couldn't afford him,
Mm,
so they dropped out and instead got Trey Hendrickson. Because when he got back, Max Crosby was able to do workouts right away,
yeah.
and he said he told the players, I guess it wasn't meant to be.
And you
Um,
got to feel like the Trey Hendrickson edition closed the door on Max Crosby, right?
it definitely did because
Yeah.
I don't think the Ravens have that money. That's
No.
why I think they backed out. They instead of them wanting to say we don't have the money because I think they paid Hendrickson like 112 million, but I think Crosby
You
would have
think
been
Trey
worth
might
more
have
than
been their
that.
guy all along?
Maybe. But my only thing is he's a right edge. Max is a left edge.
Mm-hmm.
I just think they didn't want to say we don't have the money or we just don't or we're just not fully confident in
Mm-hmm.
what he can do.
Bengals. You can thank ESPN.com adding Boy Mafe. I guess how you say it. Forgive me if that's your name. Brian Cook, Jonathan Allen lost. To your point, Trey Hendrickson, Joseph Asai, Geno Stone.
Well,
So that defense, which was already, especially a couple years ago, historically bad, lost two edges and a safety.
with Cincinnati, if they get keep Joe Burrow protected, even though Joe Burrow is now in complete hell of the AFC North, and then Grant, I'd rather have all respect, they're both good, but I'd rather have Jay Hendrickson than Max Crosby chasing after me 2 times a year. But if they can first of all fix the O line, keep Burrow healthy, and build up that defense, people have already said that Cincinnati is a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah.
If because that offense with Chase, Higgins, and Burrow is already really good, like
Yeah.
Super Bowl good. But it's the defense that's historically bad. Like I think they were like top 5 offense, but 32 defense.
Yeah.
Probably 33. Add the best college team in there.
The Browns adding Titus Howard, offensive tackle, Zion Johnson, guard, and Elgton Jenkins, a center guard.
So they went
Lost
with an
Bush,
O-line look.
linebacker. Yeah,
So
definitely trying to protect, their future. Sanders. So yeah, they're trying to protect their franchise
and
guy.
they still got Judkins and Sampson, a young running back
Mhm.
core that can be really good. Because Judkins, he's a ground and pound kind of guy, and then Sampson can get you that extra yard.
Like you said, that division is crazy,
That's
right?
just a rough division right now.
With what Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, who am I missing?
Cleveland, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, and Cincinnati.
Yeah, we just talked about them.
Yep. That's just because, like, Joe Burrow, he has to take on Miles Garrett twice a year, has to take on TJ Watt twice a year. Granted, TJ Watt's not what he was a couple years ago. And then now he has to take on Trey Hendrickson twice a year.
Mm-hmm.
But at least it's not Max Crosby on the plus side.
Yeah, well, Hendrickson was traded within the division, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, Pittsburgh adding wide receiver Michael Pittman Jr., cornerback Jamil Dean,
That's a good.
and Rico Dowdle.
That's really good too. And those are all 3 good signings.
Mhm.
Their names sound familiar. We're not the best with NFL, but
Especially this guy.
Jamel Dean is pretty good, and Rico Dowdle, of course, had that like 4-week insanity run last season.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really good for them, getting rid of Gainwell and getting in Dowdle.
Good question. Who won the fantasy football championship last year?
Who won it the last 2 years?
Lost Gainwell, running back Austin, wide receiver Austin the third, and they own Detroit in that trade.
Mm-hmm.
Picking up Reed Blankenship, a safety, and lost Titus Howard, the offensive lineman.
That's good for. I like the Reed Blankenship and the Montgomery additions because I think
Mhm.
they released Joe Mixon. Now they have David Montgomery at running back one, which is pretty good for them. And then, of course, Detroit getting Pacheco to
Mhm.
fill in for that spot. They might have that later. And then I do like the Braden Smith signing, building up that O line because I remember watching that Patriots Texans playoff game, and that O line was terrible.
Yeah, but Montgomery's ground and pound. We're going to miss him here in Detroit. But now he's the AFC South's problem. The Colts, again, staying in the NFC South, picking up the defensive end Arden Key, defensive tackle Colby Wooden, and the defensive end Michael Clemens.
And
Lost
then
Pittman, which your boy Pat McAfee was really happy about. Lost Zaire Franklin and Nick Cross.
yeah, and then they did extend Indiana Jones to another year, to a 2-year deal despite the Achilles injury. But I think that's good for them that they're able to keep Daniel Jones after what he was doing pre Achilles injury. But getting rid of Michael Pittman, I think that was just to get Alec Pierce up to that number one spot. That's good for Pittsburgh that they were able to get him. Um, the Colts, I don't think they'll do what they did next year.
Yeah, they took a nosedive, didn't they? About the second half, third quarter, whatever. They just took a nosedive and got passed by Jacksonville and Houston. Jacksonville Jaguars picking up Chris Rodriguez Jr., running back. I believe he's out of Kentucky. I think their losses might be bigger than we realize in Travis Etienne and Devin Lloyd.
Yeah, both of those are big losses for them.
They got to feel like Jacksonville's a net loss, based on their additions versus losses.
But they can probably still win that division, though.
Yeah.
They play like they did last year.
With all due respect, you only really have to beat Houston,
In Indiana.
Yeah.
We don't want to talk about that.
Your Titans have picked up John Franklin Myers, defensive lineman. Wandale Robinson, huge pickup.
I love how the Titans spent this offseason. Because Franklin Myers was the best. I think he was rated as the best defensive line in free agency. I love the Wandale Robinson pickup. That gives Cam Ward an actual wideout one.
Yeah.
And then Alontae Taylor's.
Across from DK, right?
Yeah, Alontae Taylor's a great fill-in for the Snead. Snead his Titans run was not at all what I thought it would be, but I'm glad we cut him. He wasn't doing much, and he was having a lot of drama. The Lloyd Cushenberry hurts a little bit, and the Chig Okonkwo hurts a lot too. But I think they got rid of Chig for Gunnar Helm, and they're gonna run with Helm at the tight end position.
It still seems like they have a lot of money to spend in addition to draft picks.
Well, that's just a little bit of what they added. The Titans they've done so good in this free agency. I loved how they spent their money.
Yeah, they picked up Josh Williams, right, out of San Francisco. Cordell Flott as well. Shoring him up, Jer, with the brand new coach, brand new coaching staff. Next year, as Nick 27, brand new arena, right up against 24, which is going to further congest Nashville traffic. Broncos, we've already kind of talked about them. Jer picking up Jalen Waddle. Losses of Franklin Myers, defensive tackle, and PJ Locke, the safety.
Now, ESPN's saying their biggest hole is tight end. I think their starting tight end last year was Noah Fant, who
have a premium draft pick in April. Yeah, you need that tight end, don't you? Especially for
Adam Trotman was their primary starting tight end. So that word primary means that tight end spot did not always have the same name right there for all 17 weeks.
Yeah, the Broncos are weak there. Again, ESPN says their tight ends combined for only 3 touchdowns last year, and no player at that position, averaged more than 9.8 yards per catch. So they need to make a splash there, because that's a key position. Have a guy that can block, have a guy that can pass catch, have a guy that can help you down the red zone, big guy, pass protect, all those things. Chiefs huge pickup. Kenneth Walker III,
the biggest pickup,
defending champion, right?
Yep.
Alohi
And
Gilman,
Super Bowl MVP.
and Kyrus Tonga. Lost McDuffie, lost Leo Chanel, and Brian Cook.
McDuffie's probably the biggest hit for them.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest splash, right? Probably in all of free agency. Would you agree? At least at this point.
Yeah, the McDuffie's 25 as well. So you just got rid of a really good cornerback that was in his prime, which hurts a lot.
Raiders, biggest addition, Tyler Linderbaum, center. I guess you could count addition as Crosby because he's probably coming back. Nakobe Dean, the linebacker, and Quay Walker, another linebacker.
The Linderbaum was a really good pickup. And of course, the Raiders had one of the worst O-lines in football last year. They go out and sign one of the best offensive linemen in football with Linderbaum.
The writing is on the wall, right? Mm-hmm. They have let Geno go, and they picked up a center, which tells you all you need to know. They're going to go get Mendoza. Mendoza's going one.
And they still got Genty.
Yeah.
Of course, they probably need to fix out their wideout spots a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And ESPN's saying it right here too. Nose tackle and safety are their biggest weaknesses right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but we'll see what Clint Kubiak has for that team.
It's sad if one of your biggest losses, according to ESPN, is your kicker.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't lost Carlson. Chargers additions: Keaton Mitchell at running back, Tyler Biasdez. How you say his name? Center.
I don't know.
Okay. Losses of Odafe Owe and Zion Johnson. So the Chargers' biggest remaining hole is guard. So trying to pass protect there.
We'll see what Harbaugh has.
See what Harbaugh will do. Protect his quarterback. Dallas Cowboys. I think this is a bigger pickup than somebody realized. Rashawn Gary, remember him back from his Michigan days and Green Bay days. Picked him up. Jalen Thompson, the safety, and Kobe Durant, cornerback.
The Kobe Durant's pretty good. That was one of the better. I know they cut Trayvon Diggs, so the Kobe Durant being one of the better corners in this free agency pool, that's really good for them.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think on that one? Dallas picking up one of the better guys in the league at corner.
Yeah. And that division, you got not to worry too much about New York, but you've got Philly, you've got Washington, so a relatively strong division. So you gotta be able to, have a pass defense.
Mm-hmm.
So, especially what the Giants did last year with that young nucleus before injuries, hurt Scadaboo. I don't know that a team lost more moving on than the Giants. They picked up Isaiah Likely at tight end, Tremaine Edmonds at linebacker, but lost Robinson, lost Cordell Flott, and lost Daniel Bellinger at tight end. So we'll see what they can do in the draft. They're set at quarterback, they're set at running back.
It's just that O-line and D-line, it looks like.
Some big losses. What's crazy is ESPN says their biggest remaining roster holes are offensive and defensive line. So there's like 10 different holes. Don't have a starting right guard. Defense gave up most yards per carry last year, 5.3 yards per carry. You can't do that. You got to shore up that defense.
And then the Eagles signing Tariq Woolen, that's really good to put alongside Cooper DeJean there.
Yep.
Of course, Tariq Woolen, defending champ, I think made the Pro Bowl last year, was going to be a Pro Bowler, was one of the better cornerbacks in the NFC last season. That's really good for them, but they, of course, lost Phillips and Blankenship. But I think Tariq Woolen was really good for them to bring in.
Commanders having a good offseason, picking up Odafe Owe, Leo Chanel, and your boy. How do you pronounce his last name?
Okonkwo.
We want to say it right. But lost Martin Rodriguez, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name. Noah. His first name, with all due respect. Sorry.
What's their receiver? So trying to get a receiver alongside Terry McLaurin's their biggest weakness. Trying to get Jaden Daniels that second spine. Can Daniel stay healthy after this sophomore? I don't know if you could even call it a slump. 'Cause it looked like he was pretty good when he played, but he was just hurt for like 12 weeks out of the year.
The Bears, but moving to the NFC North, picking up Kobe Bryant, Devin Bush. I think that's going to be a big pickup for them to help in the linebacker room.
Same with Kobe Bryant. That's another good signing.
And then Garrett Bradbury. Man, they got better. I know you lost DJ Moore. I know there's Kevin Bard, but I think they're probably a push.
Yeah, Kevin Bryant though, had 4 interceptions last year. Was top 10 in league and is another defending champion. So the Seahawks, having a lot of departures.
Yeah.
With them being defending champs.
Yeah, I would take the Lions. We talked about maybe the Giants, but the Lions could be maybe your biggest loser as well. They pick up Isaiah Pacheco, Cade Mays at center, Teddy Bridgewater. I don't know why we're celebrating that. Lost Montgomery.
Cade Mays is a good pickup with it feels like a Lions O-line just retiring every year. It feels like now. So I feel like after they went 15-2, they had one. Who was it that retired?
Dan
Skipper.
Skipper.
Yeah. So they had one retire, then they had another retire this year. So I think them bringing in Cade Mays was pretty good. Pacheco was also a good pickup, but yeah, they lost. You know more about the Lions than I do right now.
The Pacheco is, it's a name.
Mm-hmm.
Who comes from Kansas City, but if you ask me, if I had a preference, he doesn't strike me as Montgomery, who can just run between the tackles and get you those hard-earned yards. He strikes me as more of a speedster, which is what Gibbs already is.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what the Lions do if they have to get that late in the game, 4th and 1 in the red zone, 3rd and 2. They got to make the conversion. With 2 speedsters, you're not going to run the edge in the NFL. You're just not going to, because the linebackers and edges are just as fast as anybody. So I don't know if they have that bruiser physicality like the Lions are used to. So that'll be interesting. It seems like they have 2 speedsters, and maybe that's what they want. Maybe they want to go fast or whatever. But
a little bit of a tempo thing.
They don't have the bruiser, which I think you need. But the losses for Detroit are massive. David Montgomery, Anzalone. I hate the fact that we lost him. One of the heart and souls of the team. He got hurt the year before last. And Khalif Raymond, out of our wide receiver room. Their biggest remaining roster is defensive end. There are a lot of rumors and talks that maybe the Lions go after Crosby now. Those are just rumors and talks, so we'll see.
Yeah, so the Anzalone hurt a lot. I saw where he did leave, and then back on Pacheco, he averaged 3.9 yards per carry. So I think they just got him as that 3rd down guy, like what Montgomery was, just quick little 3 yards and get in.
Interesting to see what he averaged between the tackles.
Okay,
right up the middle. But man, that division is so good. The Bears are so much more improved. Lions last year took a step back. Green Bay's great. And the Vikings now haven't picked up Kyler Murray. If they can
he went down to 2.75 yards after contact last year.
So maybe he can be that bruiser guy. And I'm just not familiar. But he just strikes me as a speedster, primarily. What did Montgomery, in that same stat, what did Montgomery average? And putting you on the spot. I'm putting my boy on the spot. In comparing Pacheco and Montgomery, just to talk about that bruiser.
Montgomery averaged 3.7 yards after contact.
So 3.7 versus 2. What did you say, 3?
Yeah, 2.3, 2.4. So that's a yard they lose.
Yard and a half.
Yeah.
Right? Which on 4th and 1, 4th and 2, 3rd and 2, 3rd and goal, it's big.
And David Montgomery, he's been one of the better running backs in the NFL after contact. And they got rid of him for a 5th rounder.
Look at us having decent. decent analysis here, great analysis to my right. Packers pick up Javon Hargrave, excuse me. Reading is hard. Defensive tackle. Benjamin St. Just, cornerback. If I'm butchering these names, this is the NFL guy over here, not me. Sky Moore. Lost Quay Walker, Romeo Doubs, and Malik Willis.
Malik Willis was probably a big loss. He's one of the better backups, but I'm glad he's finally been able to get a starter spot. Watching him
He'll get a
play
shot.
ever since being a tight end. But do you think the Packers can do better? Of course, they won't have Parsons for the first half of the year, with an ACL. And in my opinion, the Packers were a little bit disappointing. They went what, 10 and like 6-1, something like that last year.
9-7.
9-7.
Lost 4 in a row in the year. So lost
Yeah.
on a downer.
I thought they were a little bit well, they were hurt last year, but I just thought they were a little. Even when Parsons was on that team, I just thought they were a disappointing team. I just feel like they could have been better. Of course, I think they still have Josh Jacobs, still have Jordan Love, but I think wideouts is probably one of their weaknesses. And yeah, right here, ESPN saying backup quarterback's now a weakness for them.
And I think backup quarterback there is a more crucial role than most people realize. Because if your guy
Mhm.
goes down, you got to have somebody there, right?
Well, if Jordan Love does go down, their backup is Desmond Ridder.
Well, there you go. Vikings picked up Murray, big splash. James Pierre, lost Jonathan Allen, defensive tackle. Javon Hargrave, defensive tackle. Jaden Naylor, wide receiver.
Yeah, the Kyler Murray again. I said this earlier. That's one of my more favorite things in this offseason, because that just gives them a solid number one guy now. All respect to McCarthy, but it was not good football when it was on the field.
Again, it's hard to know if he was so injured. The quarterback room, they're sending a shot across the bow to McCarthy, aren't they? Hey, we're bringing a guy in. So if you don't pan out, we're bringing up the pressure, which can be good. Real athletes, they like that, right?
Because last year they
want the
brought in the
competition.
other backup behind McCarthy, and it was I don't think he took him 5 yards down the field when you have Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson to your left and your right.
Well, yeah, the quarterback room, got a lot more competitive there. NFC South now, for the Falcons, biggest addition, Tua. And he's got to stay healthy too. He's got to quit getting his bell rung, right? With the concussions.
He's put on that Guardian cap.
You just wear the cap, bro. Lost Mooney. How do you pronounce that? Algier.
Yeah.
And then Ellis. So a couple offensive guys and a defensive linebacker. That's also shot across the bow, right? To Penix Jr. High draft pick. He and McCarthy played against each other in that national championship when Penix was with Washington. So another shot across the bow to another quarterback from that same draft class. Bringing in Tua. Letting you know that we're looking.
Another loss for the Falcons this year was James Pierce Jr. Because the Falcons have a young rushing core with Jalen Walker and James Pierce. Both of them are like under 24. But James Pierce got arrested this year with drama he had with Rakaya Jackson, two former Tennessee alum. But he got arrested for a lot of stuff he did to her, verbally when she went and talked to him in Miami. And I think they're saying he could go away for a very long time, like probably to where he won't be able to play football when he gets out of jail. So another loss for the Falcons to probably add on there is James Pierce Jr.
Kind of like Stephon Diggs, not necessarily a roster loss because of roster changes, but legal.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think they did end up cutting him. The Patriots did.
They did.
Diggs.
Yeah, they did. Panthers adding Jalen Phillips, Devin Lloyd, and Rasheed Walker.
That's really good for them, building up that defense.
Losing Cade Mays and Josh Nijman. The Panthers are almost there. They're right there. Made the playoffs last year. Had a heck of a game.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously their front office feels like defense is where they needed to go. Their biggest remaining roster hole, according to ESPN, is center.
Well, just losing Cade Mays too, former Tennessee
Mhm.
alum, I might add.
Mhm.
And then the Saints. Now, a lot of people are saying that because of this addition, they might trade Kamara, but Travis Etienne, of course, probably being the biggest name to come to New Orleans. And then they lose Demario Davis and Cameron Jordan and Alontae Taylor. I think the reason they let Davis and Cameron Jordan goes because of how old they are. I think they're both over the age of 33, which for a defensive guy, that's very old.
Mhm.
Yeah, Demario's 37, and now these guys were good once upon a time, and then Jordan is 36. So both of these guys are over the age of 35.
And the Saints already struggling, so they have a chance to do some damage in the draft as well.
Mm-hmm.
Tampa Bay picking up Kenneth Gainwell, running back, Al-Qadim Muhammad at edge,
That's really good.
and I don't think people realize, Jer, what a big addition Anzalone's going to be
Well,
to the Bucks. Dude's got a heart.
when we
man.
were talking about the Lions earlier, Muhammad's another Lions player that the Buccaneers picked up. He had a breakout year last year. It was the best year of his career last year. So I think the Buccaneers are trying to capitalize on that.
Yeah.
But of course they had to give up aging Mike Evans, Rashad White, and Jamal Dean for that.
Yeah, I think aging there is the key word there. Finally, NFC West Cardinals adding Kendrick Bourne, wide receiver, Isaac Sumalo, offensive lineman, and Gardner Minshew, man, the stash, and
But
haven't lost
behind
Jalen Thompson.
Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah.
So
Also, what's surprised the loss is not on there, Kyler Murray.
I think they just got rid of him themselves, though.
Yeah. But it's just interesting that ESPN chose not to mention him as a key loss. Just left him off.
Then
Rams.
offensive line's their biggest. Now that's offensive line, one of the more harder things to get under control right now in the NFL and probably in all of football. Really, that goes to college as well.
Well,
It's just so hard to get good offensive linemen.
on a different note, these Cardinals, picking up Minshew, he ended the year last year. We were at that game, didn't he, with an ACL injury?
Tore his ACL in the second quarter.
We happened to be there when that happened, when they were playing the Titans in Nashville. So right now, you got to think Brissett's your guy, and hope that Minshew can come back, and at least be a backup, if not maybe in 2027. Fight for that starting spot. The Rams, probably the biggest splash. We mentioned this a couple of times, picking up Trent McDuffie, the cornerback.
I think this might have catapulted them into Super Bowl winner.
And they were already so close, right?
Yeah, I think because Stafford's coming back, they still have Puka Nacua, they still have Kyron Williams, they still have Byron Young and Jared Verse. So I think I wouldn't be shocked if the NFC West wins back-to-back Super Bowls.
That's a great point. Because they're already right there. The reigning MVP now, right? And Stafford at that age, isn't that unbelievable? So yeah, the biggest splash. They got better, which kind of is a shot across the bow, to keep using that term, for all of the NFL, and particularly the NFC West, which is a brutal division with the Seahawks. The Rams went the wrong way. 49ers. So, and bless their heart, the Cardinals. Yeah, you're in a good spot when people are saying your biggest roster need is making sure there's someone there to back up Stafford, right?
Yeah. Because Jimmy G's not going to be much of a help there.
They picked up Evans from Tampa Bay. I'm going to try to pronounce that. They picked up a defensive tackle, Dre Greenlaw, linebacker.
My only thing is Mike Evans has a history of injuries. We've probably talked about this multiple times. San Francisco's near that energy plant that makes the human body weak. So I don't know, with bringing in a 33-year-old who has an injury history a little bit. Saw a skit about where like his hamstring was yelling at him, like, "What are you doing?"
The Niners, they do have the injury bug. That's for sure. This year your quarterback and your running back spent time on the injured list. Defending champion Seahawks adding Emmanuel Wilson, running back. You got to replace Kenneth Walker, right? Rodney Thomas II at safety, and Noah I. Losses Kenneth Walker, Kobe Bryant, mentioned that one, and Rick Woolen.
Yeah, so I think the Seahawks are another loser in there with the Lions, and who was the other loser you said? Giants.
The Giants.
Yeah, so like I think Seattle, Detroit, and New York are your three biggest losers.
Yeah, I could not agree more. Yep.
And then who would you say winners are since they're saying losers here?
Oh gosh.
Titans definitely.
Yeah, I think you have to go Rams for sure. Titans, Rams. Let me thumb through here. I think Houston with just the Montgomery pickup is massive.
Another one
no Bucks. I'm gonna go Bucks because you pick up Anzalone and Muhammad from Detroit. So I think the Bucks.
Another
no
one
doubt.
I would probably throw in there is Raiders just for the Linderbaum thing. With like I said earlier, and a lot of people who know more about the NFL than we do have said Linderbaum's one of the better O-line players in the whole NFL.
Yeah, I think your sneaky biggest winner outside of the obvious Rams,
and Chiefs probably going out and getting what they really needed.
Yeah, but I think your sneaky one is Tampa. Because we've seen those guys play.
Yeah, I might throw KC in there because when Mahomes gets back, their starting lineup on offense is going to be, and they still have a good O-line. But when Mahomes gets back, it's going to be Mahomes, Walker, Rice, Worthy, and Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
But putting just them getting Kenneth Walker is going to do a lot.
Agreed. Yeah, Walker's a bruiser.
I think that's all we got for the NFL. So,
where you gonna go next?
Let me see what I got. The NBA is what I have on here next. So I'll go through the notes here real quick. Because I have some interesting stuff here. So Giannis left the game early the other night. They come out today and say hyperextended knee, and now the Bucks are telling him to possibly sit out the rest of the year. So the Bucks could go no Giannis. I guess that's a way to say we're gonna tank.
I was gonna ask.
Another injury here. Yeah, right there. Bucks want to shut down Giannis for the year.
Well, and causing a rift. Because again, according to news reports, Jamal Collier from ESPN, Giannis didn't really hear it.
Like Giannis doesn't want to be there.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't help the fact that the band does not even want to be there, and I think the Bucks need to let him go. He brought you a championship. I mean, he's played. Milwaukee's a small market team here in the Midwest. I think he's done a lot for it. I think if you can, I'm not saying just be negligent as an owner, but I think the dude, he's given you enough, and I think if you can find him a contender,
he's been there since 2013.
He's past the twilight of his career, so don't be a certain way. Let him go. Get what you can for him, but kind of like the Tennessee Titans did in a different sport. Well, kind of what they did for Derrick Henry. Thank the man for what he's done. Brought a championship to you. Perennial all-star. In his peak was arguably one of the best players in the world. Let the man go and show some respect for what he's done for you while he's been a Buck.
I think they're gonna either let him walk in free agency. I don't know how much time he has left on his contract, but I think they're gonna trade him this offseason when every team gets granted that next draft pick. So teams could offer up their 2026, 2027, 2028 first round draft picks. So there will be more to offer for Giannis this offseason. And of course, there are a lot of teams right now who are probably in win now mode. Now that they're seeing Giannis is available, they're going to probably go after him. And then another one I have is Tyrese Maxey is out for a couple weeks with a pinky injury. He had to get surgery on it. Philadelphia is without their star player and probably their best player for the next couple of without their star player for the next couple of weeks. Yeah. Of course, it doesn't make much of a difference because I think Philadelphia right there just barely in the play-in. and Charlotte the only team between them and a missed playoff.
Yeah, Philly sitting at 37-32, 12.5 game behind the Pistons. Lost 1, 4-6 in their last 10. Bro, the Hawks. We get to go watch them play Wednesday. They're coming to Detroit.
Jonathan Kuminga and
They've
Jalen Johnson,
won
bro.
10 in a row.
Have you
Wow.
seen their young core with Dyson Daniels, Jalen Johnson, and
Yeah, those of us that were like, what in the
Kuminga.
world are you doing getting rid of Trey? They've shown us, haven't they?
Yeah, well, I thought them bringing in Kuminga was really good. I like that move for Kuminga because Kuminga, he averages 20 a game, and Jalen Johnson's averaging like 28 a game, and Jalen Johnson's only 24 years old. And Dyson Daniels, I think, is also 24. So the Hawks just have a young core right now that is really good.
This just in Oklahoma City has already clinched a playoff spot.
That's actually on my notes. And then
Shut it down.
this came out a couple of.
They've won 10 in a row as well. Who is
OKC.
this team?
Shay's back.
He's back.
So Curry is still out for the Warriors as well. I think the Warriors are missing the playoffs as things stand right now. Or are they just in there?
The Warriors, they're 10, so they're holding on to that
10.
last play-in game.
Who's behind them? Memphis?
Memphis is way behind them.
Oh, yeah, they're fine.
9 games back.
Yeah, I think
So your Western Conference playoffs minus seeding, the teams I would say are probably pretty much set. Because the ones out, Memphis, New Orleans, Dallas, Utah, Sacramento. Here's something about Dallas. They had the number 1 pick last year, pick up Cooper Flag. In all likelihood, you're going to have another high draft pick in this year in a draft that is stacked. The Dallas has a chance to do something just through the draft in a couple years that can really set this team up for their future when you bring in somebody in to help Cooper Flag with that organization.
And then, well, you want to know what's crazy? If Cooper Flag didn't reclassify, he went up a year. If he didn't reclassify, he would be in this upcoming draft.
He'd be on this Duke team.
Yeah, he'd be on this Duke team if he didn't reclassify.
That might be why he reclassified.
Maybe. But the Warriors are still without Curry. I think Curry's projected to return within the week. Boston closed that window between them and Detroit by, I think, a game or so since Jason Tatum has returned, and Jaylen Brown's still been balling the way he is, and now they got probably their second best player with Tatum coming back. So what are your thoughts on Boston of Brown being able to hold down the fort and now Tatum's back?
I think what Boston has done is nothing short of amazing. Because if you'd have told me coming into it they're going to be in the top 3, top 4 in the East without Tatum, all respect to Brown, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think that says a lot about Boston's coaching staff, about their personnel, about their front office.
Joe Mazzulla is a heck of a coach.
To do this, and they're only 3.5 behind Detroit and surging. Boston's won 3 in a row now. They're 7-3 in their last 10. Detroit's only won 1 in a row, 5-5 in their last 10. So Boston's surging. I'm surprised Cleveland's not doing a little more than they've done. I think they kind of came out with the Harden trade. We're doing really well, but they've kind of come back to earth now. The Pistons, they're not where the Thunder are, right? And the Thunder aren't comfortable either. On their heels, 3.5 games back, are the Spurs. So Detroit is not comfortable by any stretch of the imagination. They kind of had a scare last night where a guy lands on Cade, and Cade ends up having back spasms.
Cade's out for tonight as well. I think they played today, and Cade Cunningham is out. So
their next loss will be their 20th. They're obviously going to be in the playoffs. Detroit's not comfortable. Boston deserves a ton of credit. Again, but it's nice to have. I don't know a lot of their their guys who may not the role players, we'll call them, outside of Brown. But to have it, and not just Tatum, but a fresh Tatum, right? His body doesn't have the wear and tear that the regular season puts on you that his teammates have. So you essentially have a fresh Tatum right out of rehab.
Mm-hmm. And then you're probably happy to hear this, but Shai Gilgeous-Alexander breaks Wilt Chamberlain's record for most consecutive 20-plus point games So what do you think on that? On Shea touching some rare history?
Yeah. Again, I remember when Shea was playing at Kentucky, and I didn't see this coming. He was good at Kentucky. Um,
It was what 13th, 15th in the draft.
yeah, but just and again, Oklahoma City is not even the team that originally drafted him.
Hmm.
Wasn't the Clippers?
Yeah, he played like
Um,
1 year for the Clippers. Then he was in the
so
Paul George trade.
so
So
good
we
for
obviously see who won that trade.
yeah. So good for him. We have a mutual friend who's known Shea forever, and by all things that we hear, this is a very close friend. We won't say her name, but she's from the Nashville area. You know what I'm talking about. Said the dude is just as good off the court as a person as he is a player
Oh,
on the
she still
court.
knows Shea?
She did before, just
Oh,
through basketball and connections.
oh.
I almost messed up his other name. Um, but it's good for a guy like that to again, records are made to be broken. But I'm happy for him. Not just as a Kentucky fan, but it seems like as a person. Um,
Well, if you watched the documentary,
mhm.
uh, yeah, he's pretty good in the
He's
documentary.
got a high clothes budget, that's for sure. Wears something once and he's done.
Well, he has a garage sale for his teammates.
Yeah.
He has like a weekly garage sale or something like that. And then the following teams I'm about to read off here are currently eliminated from playoff contention. Brooklyn, Washington, Indiana, and Sacramento are the four teams that are eliminated. For Indiana, I know it's terrible, but I think Halliburton tearing his Achilles was secretly a blessing in disguise. Just look at the 2027 opening day, the 2026-2027 season opening day. You get Halliburton, a top five draft pick in this year's class, and then probably Aaron Neesmith, Pascal Siakam, and Ivica Subak as your starting five on
Yeah.
opening day.
Well, you talk about the bottom of the East just being awful. The Wizards have lost 13 in a row.
It's
Pacers,
Washington, so
the Pacers have lost 15 in a row. So it's almost like those teams are, trying to battle to get that number one pick or a chance at the lottery, in the lottery for the number one pick. Yeah, bad basketball right there.
hmm. And then a team to probably watch out for in the last 2 months, month and a half of the season is the LA Lakers. They have snuck their way into top three, and I think they're close to San Antonio, if I'm not mistaken.
They are 7.5 games behind San Antonio, but surging. I know what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
They've won 6 in a row, 9-1 in their last 10 games.
Mm-hmm. So, and right now the Rockets are having chemistry issues ever since All Star, and of course
Mm-hmm.
the whole Kevin Durant drama. So it's just crazy right now in Houston. And you know how we were talking about Atlanta earlier? CJ McCollum's also been balling for them. They're about to win their 11th game in a row.
Yeah.
Because they're right now being Dallas 124
Yeah,
106.
and they're only 2 games behind the 5 seed, and only 4.5, if my math is right, behind the 4 seed. Yeah, they kind of did like, and Charlotte's still coming, man. They've won 7 of the last 10. They won their most recent game.
A lot of
Um,
people are probably thinking about it, and I'm one of those people. I think the Warriors hated Kaminga. Because you don't just bench a 20 point per game score like they did. Did you see how they treated him before the trading? It was terrible.
makes you wonder what's going on, in the locker room, for sure, or between the locker room and the front office, between player and front office, coach, what have you.
Hmm.
At least whatever's going on, all parties have kept it quiet. That deserves some respect.
Yeah, and right now LA is beating the Rockets right now.
Yeah,
Because
to your point, Hawks are going to beat the Mavericks. Grizzlies are beating the Nuggets by 4 right now. Lakers by 12 at half over the Rockets. Celtics beat the Warriors. Thunder beat the Nets. Blazers beat the Pacers. Raptors destroyed the Bulls. T-Wolves, don't sleep on them, right? Don't sleep on them. Then Pelicans beat the Clippers, and I think that's all.
yeah, that's all for the NBA. So might be time to sign off here. 'Cause I don't have
Yeah,
anything
it's
else.
getting close to 11 o'clock in the Eastern time zone. just for fun. Going way back to the beginning because I can. Who's your pick to win at Darlington this week in the NASCAR Cup Series?
You know what? I'm gonna go out on a limb here.
Do it.
He's been driving really good recently.
Do it.
It's a Toyota driver, Ty Gibbs.
Ooh.
I'm just saying, bro. Have you seen how he's been driving recently?
I
Coming off
have.
a stage win.
Ty Gibbs, 5 starts, 3 top 5s.
Mm-hmm.
The one DNF is what's hurting him.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna win. He might be the hottest driver.
I think he might finally win.
Man, I like that pick.
Who'd you think I was gonna say?
I thought you were gonna go Bubba.
He'll win one, but
I thought you were gonna get Bubba. Bubba's second in the standings.
yeah.
What's crazy is Bubba only has 4 top 10, so he must be piling up those
And one
stage
is
points.
Phoenix.
So he must be piling up those stage
I think
points.
he has the most stage points out of anybody this season.
Stage points matter more now than ever.
I think we talked about that.
Man, I like the Ty Gibbs pick. I don't know where I was going to go, but yeah, I like that pick. I think it will be a Toyota. I was going to go DH, Denny Hamlin,
Back to back.
back to back, just because he's so stinking good at that track. I just thought about what we did the last one.
Yeah. But man, Ty Gibbs, he's looking good, man.
He's going to win this year. He's going to win soon.
And at some point, he's gonna win.
He's going to win really soon.
I think that's all we got.
All
so, wait, who was your pick? Didn't he?
A DH, but man, I sure do. I wasn't even thinking about Ty Gibbs, but I think you're onto something. I'm going to agree with you, but I'm going to pick Toyota for sure.
Mm-hmm. That's the safest bet.
Denny's the low-hanging fruit for sure. But man, Ty Gibbs racing really well right now. I hope he gets a win. You know,
he deserves one.
He does.
So, I think that's all we got for tonight. Episode 18 in the books. Doesn't feel like we've done 18.
All right, guys. Thank you